Hi, my name is Joseph Waterbury. I am 33 years old. I come from Gridley, California. My clean date is December 15th, 2011. And I'm here to answer some questions.
What was your drug of choice?
My drug of choice tended to be opiates. That falls in the class of painkillers, Vicodin, Oxycontin, morphine, and ended up being in a heroin thing. I also did a lot of methamphetamine, but my drug of choice had to be, I'd say, opiates.
How long were you an addict, and what age did you start?
Well, I started pretty much in high school. It started out, I would say, as a normal high school, little drinking, little smoking pot. But I had my wisdom teeth pulled, and a kid at school told me, take more than just one, take two or three, and I really liked that feeling. And so somewhere around 17, and I ended up getting clean when I was about 27, with a few little stints in between. So whatever that math is, somewhere around 10 years. That's how I started, and that's how long it was.
What sort of behavior did you exhibit while under the influence?
The different drugs had different effects on me, and they had different effects the worse I got. More with the opiate thing, I was very lethargic. My eyes would have a hard time opening and shutting. I'd often fall asleep in the middle of a conversation. My voice got a lot lower. With most of the harder drugs, as we'd call them, I was very clammy, very sweaty. Whereas with methamphetamine, I ran very hot. I was very hot and sweaty, winter through summer, and I was very erratic. I was in an altered mind frame, so I tend to not make very much sense, and I imagine I appeared very anxious and jittery. That's to the best of my recollection how I acted.
Did you ever have an overdose or been hospitalized?
Several times. With amphetamines, we'll include cocaine in this for the benefit of the topic, but not so much. I probably felt like I was going to die, but more with the opiates and the medication, Xanax and all that stuff. There were several occasions where I did do too much. I was dropped off at a hospital one time, and they had to give me Narcan, I believe it was, to kind of bring me out. And one time, the adrenaline shot, whatever that was. So I had about 4 times where it did get pushed too far.
Did you ever deceive a healthcare provider to obtain drugs?
That was my favorite thing to do. When I started, it was for my wisdom teeth, and obviously that prescription doesn't go on forever. You know, I was able to get a few here and there from my friends or whatnot, but it became more necessary to claim a back injury at the age of, I think I was 18 or 19 years old. So that was kind of, you know, I played football at the time, so that was a good excuse to claim that I had a back injury. And I spent so much of my time at doctors, going to different doctors because they couldn't find anything wrong. I shuffled around all kinds of doctors, trying to get pain medicine. And I would try and, like, I have scoliosis, a curvature of the spine. So when I took the x-rays, I'd try and, like, bend my back to, like, make my disc bulge. I didn't know if that was possible or not, but I would try, you know, I did everything I could because the desperation of staying well, because opiates have a withdrawal to them. If you don't have them, you get a sick feeling. I'll answer that later, but so it was a desperation thing, and I became a very good manipulator to get what I needed. Lying became a second nature, and I played it out. I played it out through school. I played football, and I had to fake my injury through that, so I missed out on most of my senior year of football. So I deceived many healthcare workers in that fact of out of necessity, and that was that.
How did you feel the attitude of the community was towards you?
The more apparent my addiction became, and it was known, I ended up, as it progressed, I started getting in trouble with law enforcement, and my name was in the newspaper. My family obviously kind of was starting to see some of the strange behavior out of me, and I thought I was hiding it fairly well, but it was readily apparent to the community. I was probably extremely skinny, and when you think of a drug addict, or at least when I thought of a drug addict, I always thought of a very dirty looking person in some dark alley injecting drugs into themselves, and you know, it was a choice. It's something that you can control, that, you know, you just choose to live like a dirtbag. And I felt very excluded from everybody. You know, the only people that I could relate with were drug addicts. Nobody understood what I was doing, and I, you know, I for the most part I understand that. You know, I grew up in a we'll call it normal household. You know, I didn't suffer any abuse as a child. I grew up with my needs fully met, and I became an outcast, and it was strange because I didn't feel the way that I was being portrayed or judged or viewed by the community. But that's, I believe that's the thing. You know, you never know the experience of another human being unless you've actually experienced that, and it's hard to have that objective perspective.
What did you do for recovery, and how long has it been?
In December, I'll have 6 years from alcohol from everything. I've not ingested any mind-altering substances for almost 6 years now. Recovery is it is something that I had to want. Many occasions, both my sister, my parents were crying and begging me to stop, and it had no impact on me. I faced years of prison time, and I would do the bare minimum just to get by so that I could get back to it. It had to be something that I wanted, that I had to do the work to achieve recovery. And it took several things for myself, both a 6-month inpatient rehab thing, years of drug testing through probation. I'm a member of a 12-step program, and I think the biggest thing for me that helps me is helping others. We call it service. Sharing what I've learned in recovery to help somebody else, because it reminds me that regardless of 6 years later, I'm still an addict. I still have the personality of someone who wants to change how I feel, not with my mind, but with a substance. And it's easy to forget that. Alcohol's everywhere. Now marijuana is becoming, acceptable, and that's okay for some people. But for me, I have a tendency to take it to the extreme. I can't drink one beer with my friends after work because I'll drink 12. They'll all go home, and I'll still be drinking. I'll be looking for something else to make me more. So I stay plugged in. I don't forget the people that I hurt. I enjoy my life today, and that's without the use of drugs.
What can you tell my fellow students about encountering someone with addiction within the workplace?
Be patient. It's someone's daughter, someone's son, someone's brother, and they might be there for ill-gotten purposes to try and get medication. And I'm sure nowadays it's become more prevalent to get medication through doctors. That's because it's all right. It's prescribed by a doctor. That's the view at least I had on it at the time. It's not heroin. It's prescribed by a doctor, but it has the same effects. But be patient and offer help. Most of the time, I was offered a doctor handed me a schedule for meetings, and of course at the time I didn't take it, but it planted a seed. I had the option, and just be kind and smile and treat them like your brother or sister.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.